Welcome back to the second session of simultaneous interpretation. We stopped last time on chapter 2. So, in chapter 2, we are going to talk about learning outcomes and competency milestones. So, measuring progress through competency development. Effective learning requires clear outcomes that can be measured, evaluated, and progressively achieved. The chapter outlines the specific competencies and the performance milestones that mark your journey from novice to proficient interpreter. These outcomes are based on established academic models, including the SI 202 course framework and reflects the progressive skill acquisition that characterizes professional interpreter training programs worldwide. Why do this matter? Because interpretation mastery doesn't happen all at once. You do not go from zero to expert in one step or on one leap. Instead, you progress through in the identifiable stages, developing specific competencies systematically. Now let's move to the second slide, talking about that each learning outcomes represents a discrete, accessible competency that contributes to overall interpretation proficiency. Rather than reviewing interpretation as a or monolithic skill, this framework breaks down the complex act into component abilities that can be systematically developed, practiced, and defined. This modular approach allows for the targeted improvement in specific areas while building toward integrated professional level performance. You might be strong in vocabulary but weak in stress management or excellent or cognitive processing but needing improvement in culture adaptation. Identifying specific strengths and weaknesses allows a strategic focus on areas needing development. Now let's go to talking about translation competencies developed introduction. So, professional interpretation training develops a comprehensive suite of competencies that extend beyond simple language transfer. Modern frameworks recognize that effective interpretation requires the integration of multiple dependent competency domains. This holistic approach ensures that interpreters develop not just linguistic abilities, but also the cultural awareness, technological proficiency, research capabilities, and ethical foundations necessary for professional excellence. The following competency framework represents current to best practice in interpreter education worldwide. This isn't just one person's opinion. It's based on research into what distinguishes excellent from adequate interpreters and what competencies training programs need to develop. Now let's go to language competency, intercultural competency, technological competency, exceptional fluency, and precision in both source and target languages with command across registers and contexts. Intercultural competency, cultural awareness, and adaptation skills, enabling appropriate contextualization for diverse audiences. Technological competency, effective use of interpreting equipment, software tools, and digital resources supporting professional practice. Modern interpretation depends on technology, specialized both microphone systems, audio processing, digital terminology, databases, remote interpretations, platforms, the recording equipment. Now let's move to research domain and transfer competency. So, research competency, systematic preparation, methods, terminology, acquisition strategies, and information gathering capabilities. Domain competency, subject matter expertise across specialized fields, enabling accurate interpretation of technical content. Transfer competency, ability to accurately convey meaning, intent, tone, and nouns from source to target language. This is the core interpretation competency, the actual act of transferring communication from one language to another. Now let's move to the service provision and ethical competence. So client engagement in service provision competence, audience awareness, and the professional service delivery, meeting industry standards, ethical competency, adherence to professional codes, confidentiality principles, and impartiality standards in all circumstances. Now, let's move to tell you that we've discussed the ethical already, but it's important enough to constitute a distinct competency domain. So let's move now to competency integration. These 8 competency domains work synergistically to create comprehensive professional capability. None exists in isolation, rather, skilled interpretation emerges from the integrated application of all competencies simultaneously. Training programs must therefore address each domain systematically while also providing opportunities for integrated practice that mirrors real-world interpretation contexts. You can't just practice language skills in isolation, then add cultural awareness, then add technological proficiency. You must also practice integration, all competencies together, because that's how they function professionally. Now let's go to chapter 3, talking about training methodologies. Effective interpreter training requires pedagogical approaches specifically designed to develop the unique combination of skills demanded by simultaneous interpretation. This chapter explores evidence-based training and methodologies and learning objectives that have proven successful in developing interpretation competencies. Contemporary approaches emphasizes learner-centered task-based instruction that mirrors authentic professional scenarios while providing structured support for skill development. The most effective interpretation training combines deliberate practice of specific skills with immersive exposure to authentic communication scenarios, creating a bridge between controlled learning environments and the unpredictable demands of professional practice. Modern training methodologies recognize that interpretation skills cannot be developed through passive observation or theoretical study alone. Instead, they require active, repetitive practice under progressively challenging conditions. This approach aligns with research on expertise development across domains, which constantly demonstrate that deliberate, practice-focused, goal-directed rehearsal of specific skills with immediate feedback is essential for developing high-level performance capabilities. Now let's go to learner-centered and task-based instruction, intensive shadowing exercises repeated practice, replicating speaker content with minimal delay, progressing from slow, simple texts to rapid, complex discourse, really lay interpretations, multi-stage interpretation chains where students interpret for each other, developing both production and comprehension skills. Simulated scenarios, realistic interpretations, situations featuring varied accents, topics, speakers, and contexts that mirror professional environments. Practice formats, balanced combination of individual practice for skill refinement and group sessions for collaborative learning and peer modeling. Individual practice allows focused work on personal weaknesses without group pressure. Group sessions provide peer learning, watching others reveal strategies and approaches you might not discover alone. Balance both formats throughout training. Now let's go to talk about task-based instruction centers the learning around authentic interpretation tasks rather than isolated skill drills. Students engage with complete interpretation assignments that require integration of multiple competencies mirroring the holistic demands of professional practice. This approach accelerates the development of integrated performance capabilities while maintaining motivation through meaningful, purposeful activity. Now, let's move to tell you that isolated drills can become boring and feel disconnected from actual interpretation. Complete tasks maintain engagement because they resemble real work. You see purpose in practice because it mirrors what you'll do professionally. Now let's move to talking about feedback loops that constitute a critical component of effective training. Multiple feedback sources, including instructor critic, peer review, and self-assessment, provide diverse perspectives on performance. Video recording enables a detailed analysis of interpretation quality, delivery style, and areas for improvement. This multi-source feedback approaches help students develop accurate self-monitoring capabilities essential for independent professional practice. Professionals cannot rely on constant external feedback. They must monitor and adjust their own performance in real time. Now let's go to cognitive training tools introduction. Given the extraordinary cognitive demands of simultaneous interpretation, specialized training tools targeting specific mental processes form an essential component of comprehensive preparations. These exercises go beyond traditional language learning activities to differently enhance the cognitive capacities underlying interpretation performance. Researching demonstrates that targeted cognitive training can yield measurable improvements to or in memory capacity, multitasking ability, and processing speed, all critical factors in interpretation success. Traditional language learning focuses on vocabulary, grammar, cultural knowledge that's necessary but insufficient for interpretation. Interpretation requires extraordinary cognitive abilities that do not automatically develop from language learning alone. Now let's move to memory enhancement. Specialized exercises designed to expand short-term and working memory capacity, especially and specifically for interpretation contexts. Techniques include chunking strategies, visualization methods, and progressive load training that systematically increases memory demands. So let's now move to multitasking drills, dual task and multitasking exercises that train the brain to manage simultaneous processes without interference. Progressive complexity builds from simple divided attention tasks to interpretation-specific simultaneous comprehension and production challenges. Interpretation requires genuine multitasking, comprehending input while producing output simultaneously. Most people aren't naturally good at this because evolution didn't prepare us for such demands. This capacity must be trained. Now let's go for cognitive flexibility training. So exercises promoting rapid mental switching between tasks, concepts, and the language systems include stress in occultation training to maintain performance under pressure and develop resilience against cognitive fatigue. Interpretation requires constantly shifting mental frameworks, topics change, speakers change, accent vary, terminology shifts between specialized domains. The cognitive flexibility enables smooth adaptation without performance deterioration. Now let's move to tell you that these cognitive training tools can be integrated throughout the curriculum, serving as warm-up activities, focused practice sessions, or homework assignments. Regular engagement with cognitive exercises produces cumulative benefits, progressively expanding students' mental processing capacities and enabling them to handle increasingly demanding interpretation challenges with greater ease and accuracy. Cognitive training shouldn't be occasional, it should be a regular component of your practice routine, like physical conditions for athletes, cognitive conditions for interpreters requires consistent ongoing training. Now let's move to the use of authentic materials. Authentic materials, recordings, and texts drawn from real-world contexts rather than created specifically for instructional purposes provide essential exposure to the linguistic diversity, complexity, and unpredictability students will encounter in professional practice, unlike carefully controlled pedagogical materials. Authentic sources, features, natural speeches, patterns, hesitations, accent variations, cultural references, and the unexpected elements that characterize real communication training with authentic materials build adaptability and prepares students for the full spectrum of interpretation challenges. If you only practice with clean, controlled materials, you will struggle when encountering real speakers who do not conform to pedagogical ideals. Now, let's go for types of authentic materials. Multimedia recordings, audio and video recordings of speeches, presentations, technical talks, panel discussions, and live events across diverse domains and speaker styles, real-world case studies, documentation, and recordings from actual interpretation assignments in including diplomatic summits, medical consultations, legal proceedings, and business negotiations, specialized resources, technology databases, technical glossaries, field-specific dictionaries, and expert compiled vocabulary resources for specialized domains. Authentic preparation materials matter too. Professional interpreters use specialized terminology resources, legal dictionaries, medical glossaries, business terminology databases, technical vocabulary compiled by subject matter experts. Now let's go to the material selection and the preparation support. The selection of authentic materials should reflect the diversity of contexts students may encounter professionally. This includes variations in speaker nationality, accent delivery, speed, formality level, subject matter complexity, and discourse structure. Graduated exposure beginning with clearer, more structured materials and progressively introducing more challenging sources allows students to build confidence while systematically expands their capabilities. Start with materials that stretch your current abilities without overwhelming you. As you improve progress to more difficult materials, this systematic progression builds capacity without creating this discouragement. The final slide that we are going to talk about today is to tell you that accompanying authentic materials with background context terminology lists and preparatory information mirrors professional practice where interpreters typically receive briefing materials before assignments. This teaches students not just to interpret, but also to prepare effectively, developing research competencies and strategic preparation approaches essential for professional success. Professional interpreters rely or rarely interpret completely cold. They receive advanced materials, meeting agendas, speaker biographies, technical documents, specialized glossaries. Training should mirror this by providing preparation materials with authentic recordings, teaching you how to prepare effectively. So we'll stop here and we'll continue the last session in year 4 in this wonderful subject, simultaneous interpretation tomorrow. Until tomorrow, ta for now.